gonna hit record. Are you nervous?
Not really. A little
Good.
bit, but not too much.
Good, good. Okay, cool. I'm just gonna get my notes up here. And so your mom sent me your bio, right? And you are currently age 14.
Yes.
Okay, and am I saying your name right? Eliana?
Yes.
Okay. And do you like to go by Ellie or do you prefer to just go by Eliana?
It doesn't matter to me, whichever's
Okay.
easier.
I'll record kind of an intro before you and I start talking, and I'll do it separately, and I'll pretty much just include the info that your mom had given me, and I'll introduce you as Eliana, but we may interchangeably, if you do go by Ellie, which she had put in there, then I may interchangeably use that. Does that sound
Okay.
good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Um, so, I'll launch in when we do start. I'll ask you a little bit about, what your interests are and, what year you are in school. You're a freshman or
No, I'm in 8th grade.
you're in 8th grade? Okay. And so I'll ask what grade you're in and then I just want to ask about kind of how you got your idea for the website, why you think it's important, who your role models are, what you hope to do someday. And then the last thing I'll ask is if you were to give, I'll give you some time to think about it. If you were to give your 10-year-old self some advice about being a girl and chasing your dreams or making your dreams come true, what that advice would be. And I'll ask that at the very end. Does that sound good?
Yeah.
Okay. And then when the people on the back end who do the editing, they can clean things up. And so, if you need to pause and think about something, it's no big deal. And if you goof up on something and you want to repeat yourself or just phrase it a different way, you can totally do it and be like, hold on, I messed up. Let me say that again. And then they do all their magic on the back end, which helps me too, because I mess up all the time.
Okay.
Does that sound good? And then at the very end, I'll just say, so just so everybody knows exactly how to get to this website, tell me what it is, and then we'll wrap it up.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So we're recording already. I'll pause for 1 second and then we will start. Okay.
Okay.
All right. Hi, Eliana. Thank you so much for being on with me today.
Thank you for having me.
I was so excited to learn about you and also learn about the website that you had created. Tell me a little bit about yourself, how old you are, what grade you're in, and kind of what you're into.
I'm 14 years old and I'm in 8th grade. Um, I enjoy doing a whole variety of things. Um, I'm really into sports, and my main sports are playing futsal, which is Brazilian. It's a really faster version of soccer, and playing normal soccer too.
That's awesome. My son plays futsal also, so I've definitely
Really?
seen the futsal arena. He's 8 years old, and it is for sure much more fast paced. So that's
Yeah.
definitely impressive. And you were in the futsal national championship, right?
Yes.
Congratulations. That was really
Thank
cool.
you.
So your website, womencreatinghistory.com, you created this website. You came up with the entire concept and the idea behind it. Tell me what the birth of that was. How did that come about?
Originally, it came around from my social studies teacher. Well, every single year I'm in an enrichment class, and we have to do a special project that goes like above and beyond like other projects that it's like a capstone project, if you know what that is.
Hmm.
Um, and I remember one of my social studies teachers mentioning that um, every single year his students do a history day project, and and he always notices that there's always maybe only two women that are presented out of the 120 something students he says there's very few women that are their topics are put on. And I've always been really big about like gender equality, and it kind of unsettled me.
Understandably. And what was your first introduction to the concept of gender equality and that it's needed in our world and that we're not quite there yet?
I've always kind of I wasn't probably always aware about it as a young kid, but I don't think most younger kids are. I think I started realizing it more when we were learning about it in social studies, and maybe a woman. The only time I really hear a woman was like when she was cooking or cleaning, but that was, I
Mhm.
mean, that it's the main thing that it's talked about in like early history, where that was what women were supposed to do, but it was never mentioned about like maybe the few women that actually stood above that and like kind of like fought back for their rights. And I've never once heard about half the women.
And so when you came upon the idea for this website, did you do all the research and who did the web design? Who actually built the physical web? What kind of things did you have to go through to actually make it a reality?
I'm not very good with technology myself, so my mom actually built the whole like base of the website.
Mhm.
I did all the research, and my best friend Sabine actually made the my main logo on my website. Um,
Cool.
but my mom did all the technical stuff because it's definitely not my strong suit.
And that's okay. We all kind of have our different strengths and like I'm really impressed that your mom built it. It looks great. She is
Yeah,
kind of a renaissance woman in her own right. She's a physician. You guys are in Connecticut, right? And that's how we became connected and how I learned about what you were doing.
nice.
So, what do you think you want to do someday career-wise? What are you interested in?
I actually have no really idea what I want to be when I grow up.
And
Like
that's
I have,
okay.
yeah, I've never really had like a main thing I was into. Well, I have many things that I'm into. It's just never one thing stuck out that I want to be like, oh, I want to pursue this for the rest of my life.
Mhm. And that's totally normal. That's totally fine to not know, and in fact, a lot of us at the same age as you, when we're in our teens, we say, "I wanna be this," we kinda go, through school and college and get into our careers, and what you end up doing isn't always what you thought you were gonna do at 14. I think the key thing is the opportunity to do whatever you wanna do, right?
Yeah,
And that's a big part of the what's behind your website and also what's behind this podcast is to kind of show girls and women that they can be inspired by women who have pursued jobs and careers in areas where normally you don't see a lot of women. So that's why I was really excited to come across your project. Do you think in pursuing the project, did you ever run into any challenges? What was really hard about it?
I definitely ran into a bunch of challenges. Well, not a huge amount, but well,
That's
one of the
okay.
things I did during seventh grade, this was like part of the beginning makings also of my project. Me and a group of friends decided we wanted to write some motivational quotes for some in the bathroom stalls. Like just put posters up because we've been noticing like a bunch of girls at our age are like put down. There's a huge amount of depression, and not everyone really likes how they look, and
Mhm.
there should be no reason that they should like themselves. Like they should be able to feel confident, and I feel like society tends to like push down on them. So we wanted to do that, but our principal actually said no about that. Um, we don't. And we also had these motivational we had assemblies like every trimester, behavioral assemblies, and we'd watch this motivational video. But in all the years that I've been at my school, I've never once seen a woman featured in those videos. They've all been strong, tough men, and I was like, there's plenty of strong women out there that
Mhm.
stories are equally as challenging and inspiring. And we email we emailed it about him, and I even got some options. That I made sure they're all like appropriate. They and followed like the guidelines that you have to do for these videos. Um, and it then next motivational video came up, and it still was a man, and they've all been men ever since.
That's really frustrating. That is
It
incredibly
is.
frustrating, and when you don't see people who look like you and you don't see people that you could envision being like as an adult in the future, then it can really kind of squash dreams sometimes. And so
Yeah.
my hope is that eventually your school will start to listen and adopt your ideas, because that's really important. A lot of times the opinions we form about ourselves and our capabilities just come from what we're exposed to. And so it's really important for our leadership within schools and within businesses to help support that, to support the gender equity. So who are your role models? Who are your role models at this time?
Um, my mom is one of my biggest role models. She she just really pushes me to do my best, and I really look up to her. Um, and honestly, just whenever I hear a story about some woman that pushed towards her goals or went through a challenging time and overcame that, honestly, that's a role model in my eyes too.
So if you had to, I'm going to put you on the spot here. If you had to pick a woman from any time in history to go, grab what's your favorite drink?
I don't really have a favorite drink.
Okay, so like go grab a fruit punch or a 7 Up with, and sit on a bench and talk for 15 minutes. Anyone in history, dead or alive, who would that be?
It would be Eleanor of Aquitaine. I think that's how you pronounce that. Her the Aquitaine. She was a woman in history. I forget her timeline, but it was during like the kings and queens. And she was basically a woman. And during that time, I mean, women also did not have a huge amount of voice. And she basically, with her first husband, she basically, it, and what I remember reading, she actually had more of a voice, and she pushed her
Mhm.
thoughts out. She ruled the country even basically more than the king. She didn't just stand aside. And eventually she was unhappy with the marriage, and they divorced, and she went found another husband. But she like even with the death threats from the other king, she still kept on going. And I just find it inspiring that she like used her voice during a time where women didn't really have a voice,
Right,
especially in such
exactly.
a like high power role.
Yeah. Can we find her on your website?
Yes, she
Awesome.
is
I figured so.
in. Yeah, I think she's in the politics, leaders, and beyond section.
Cool. Yeah, there are multiple sections, and I like how you organized it. I mean, there are women in politics and women in kind of a lot of science, right? And what are some of the other categories that you have?
I have LGBTQ plus, woman in sports. Um, I have, I think it's science and mathematics,
Mhm.
and I'm thinking of adding a literature one
Cool.
and one for like actors and singers and those people.
Awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah.
So you are 14 now. If you had to give advice to your 10-year-old self, or even any 10-year-old girl out there, what would that be with your 14-year-old wisdom that you have now?
I tell myself and any other girl age 10 that listening to other people judging you, and if they're being negative towards you, to not listen to them and not let other people's opinions bring you down. Because when I started making this website in enrichment, this is another there was one kid that heavily doesn't really necessarily support all this,
Mhm.
and he would make it very clear that he would make comments maybe in middle class when I was talking about it, that there's no point in me doing this. Women already have enough rights. There's no use in trying to get more. And it kind of, and I know I shouldn't have been, but it kind of made me a little like embarrassed for myself, and like kind of like I became really shy to talk about it and embarrassed to even mention it. And but I like now know like there's nothing to be ashamed about. And but he but I was really self-conscious about it. And I tell all those kids and girls and boys too, that other people's opinions shouldn't affect the way or affect what you love to do, and should just keep on doing it and pursue what you love.
I love that. That's great. That's really good advice, and I know I definitely could have used it at age 10 and at other times in my life. And so I wanna make sure that the listeners are able to find your website if they go looking for it. So can you tell us what it is again?
It is womancreatinghistory.com.
Awesome. Eliana, thanks so much for being on with me.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Was that easy?
Yeah, it was pretty easy.
Awesome. Good. Cool. Yeah, so I mean, you don't worry about any like, if you kind of paused on stuff, like the editors will just kind of clean it up and make everything nice and tidy
Okay.
and I think this will be really cool. I really liked hearing about the process and how you ended up building the website and I'm also excited to hear that it's going to continue to grow. So
Yeah, I'm working on adding some more women right now.
awesome, and I'm glad you didn't stop when your classmate was hating on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's gotta I think a lot of times those attitudes have to come from somewhere, and and it's probably the attitude that is within the household, and so, it's a big undertaking to kinda change people's minds and attitudes towards this, and it'll take a really big culture shift in our society, and we still have a long way to go, I think, but I think that
Yeah.
the work that you're doing is amazing and is gonna make a difference, and I hope that you keep dreaming big and that you keep going.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Okay, well, that'll be the end of